Hi, my name is Lexi Mitchell. I'm a member of the Penobscot Nation coming from the Bear Clan. I was born and raised in Maine and raised in our traditional homelands on Indian Island. So today we are going to be making some savory crepes. We are going to make the crepe from scratch, and then we are going to be doing a filling that consists of quite a few indigenous ingredients to the Penobscots and Wabanaki here in Maine. We are going to be using a moose burger, which is one of our traditional forms of protein, and is actually probably the first protein I ever ate before I had beef or chicken or anything like that in my life. We're also going to be using cranberries. Fiddleheads, which are, especially this time of year in the spring, are a huge delicacy to us, and everybody waits all year long for the fiddleheads to come up, so this is very exciting that we're filming right now. We're going to be using a mushroom medley along with some sunchokes. So for our crepes, we're going to be making a very simple crepe, and pretty much all of the ingredients that we're going to be using today come in the FDPIR commodity food boxes, such as vegetable oil. I am using milk today, but we could definitely use a powdered milk with this. Flour and salt, pepper, and garlic. And then we're going to be using the cream of mushroom soup to put in with all of our savory ingredients to make a very simple, easy mushroom cream sauce. We're also going to be using 2 skillets. For our crepes, we specifically need a non-stick skillet. This is not going to work if you use stainless steel, aluminum, or cast iron. It has to be non-stick. That's definitely, when you're making crepes, which are very delicate, is a must-have. For our other skillet, I just so happen to be using a non-stick today, but any type of pan is fine for your savory filling. Okay, so for our crepes, this is really easy, and it is literally you just dump all of your ingredients into the bowl and or the blender, whatever you happen to be using that day, and you mix them up. It really does not matter the order that you put them in or anything like that. So we're going to be using 3/4 of a cup of water. A pro tip, if you'd like, is definitely to use like Pellegrino. It will make your crepes nice and fluffy, and that's a little pro tip that they do in restaurants. So today I'm just using flat water, but either one is fine. So I'm going to add my flat water. I'm going to go ahead and I'm adding a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. You could also use butter if you prefer, or any other type of oil, such as olive oil or anything like that. I'm going to be using 1/2 cup of milk. Again, I'm using whole milk, but you could use any type of milk. It's fine. You could do powdered milk, 1% milk, anything like that. Doesn't matter as long as it's milk. So then we're going to be adding 1 cup of flour. I'm just using an all-purpose flour today. And then we're also going to be doing the seasonings right in here. We're making savory crepes today, so I am going to be using garlic, salt, and pepper. So we're going to go ahead and put probably about 1/4 teaspoon of salt in here. Just a pinch of pepper, just eyeball it. This is totally personal preference on the pepper. And any of these you could even leave out if you wanted to. You could put different seasonings and make them your own. And we're going to do another 1/4 teaspoon of garlic, granulated garlic, or garlic powder, it doesn't matter. And we're just going to mix all of that up together. And again, you could do this in a blender, and if you did it in a blender, we would be done already. So you are just going to mix until the batter is smooth, and we're looking for bubbles to form on the top of the batter. That is literally it. If you want the best crepes, I definitely recommend making your crepe batter the day before. But you need to let your batter sit for a minimum of 30 minutes. But I definitely would recommend the night before. Just pop it in the fridge, take it out, and you're just going to whisk or put it back in the blender, either one, before you cook it. And again, you're just looking for those bubbles to form on the top. Just like that. That's the bubbles we're looking for. So now I'm going to go ahead, now that my crepe batter is all ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and put it into the refrigerator for a minimum of 30 minutes. When you're making a batter, anything that you leave in the refrigerator overnight, it just has more of a chance to come together, all the flavors marry. You know, you can do the same thing for pancake batter or waffle batter. It's, this is pretty much the same idea. It's just gets down to the thinness, All right, so now that our crepe batter is all set and it's sat in the refrigerator for a little while and gotten cold, we are going to go ahead and get our nonstick pan warmed up. So this is going to be kind of similar to like when you're making pancakes. So you want to make sure your pan is nice and hot before you get started. And just like when you're making pancakes, for me, like the first pancake always turns out a little funky. Chances are the first crepe is going to turn out a little funky too, just as your pan starts to get to that correct temperature. So we're just going to add a little dab of vegetable oil, just enough really to coat the pan. We don't want it swimming in it or anything like that. We're really looking just to coat the pan. So I'm just going to leave this just for a second while my pan warms up. I'm using a 10-inch pan today, so I'm going to be using about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of crepe batter per crepe. If you were using an 8-inch pan, you might want to stick closer to like a 1/4 cup for your crepe batter. So I think this is ready to go. My oil is starting to beat up a little bit, which tells me that my pan is getting hot. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop some in here, give it a little test. And if it doesn't come out okay, that's all right. So we're going to drop it right in the middle, just a little bit. I'm going to use just a little bit more than that. So immediately you want to roll it around. And my crepe skills are a little rusty, so you know what? Mine aren't coming out perfect, but it's okay because I'm going to eat it, and it doesn't need to be perfect for me. So we want to let it sit, and you can see here, you can see the difference. You can tell that our batter is raw here, and it's starting to cook along the edge. So really, it's going to be the best if it kind of cooks evenly all the way across. I just want to leave it. I want to leave it alone, let it do its thing. Here we go. Now we see we're getting close. So I'm just going to go around. I'm going to make sure. Now you see that it's wiggly. You see this is the magic of the nonstick pan. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Whoop! Great. And that's it. Leave it alone. We're going to let it cook. Again, just a few minutes, not even. We're just going to let it brown up on this side. I'm just going to check it. I'm just looking for it to be brown. For me, this is good. I'm happy with this. So I'm going to go ahead and put it to my plate to the side. And there's the crepe that I'm going to use for my filling. Okay, so now that my crepes are all done and put to the side, what we're going to start doing is we're going to start sautéing our filling that's going to go in. So what I'm using today is a lot of indigenous ingredients for the Penobscot and the Wabanaki, but you could use any combination of vegetables, meat, no meat, you can make your filling however you want. So what I'm going to be using today is some sun-choked artichokes, which are these guys right here. A little bit different than the typical artichoke that you might see in the store. So all I do is I just I peel them, just kind of like you would with a piece of ginger or something like that. I peel all the skin off, and I'm just slicing them up into little bite-sized medallions, like what I have here. Okay, so everything that I'm doing today as far as my cut, it's just so that when I eat everything, I get a nice bite and I'm not having to chop through whole, big chunks of something to get when I'm eating my crepe. So what I'm going to do in this pan, I have just a little bit, probably about a tablespoon of vegetable oil that is warming up. We are going to start by sautéing the sunchokes. And this is the hardest vegetable that we are using today. So this is why we're going to start with the sunchoke, because it's going to take the most time to cook. So I'm just going to go ahead and add these to my pan. I have them in water here so that they don't brown, so that's why you see a little bit of popping in the pan. But once we get other stuff in there, it's going to be fine. And the water that's on here is going to evaporate very quickly. So I'm just going to give those just a quick second. I also want them to get a little brown and caramelized on one side, so I'm not going to rush them. I'm just going to let them sit where they are. We see we have these two little overlapping. Just maybe give them a shake. But if they still overlap, it's fine. So we're just going to give these a minute, and then in just a second, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my fiddleheads. So fiddleheads are really special to the Wabanaki. This time of year, in the spring, fiddleheads come up, and it's really a short window of time that they are ready for us to pick and eat. It's really like a 2-week window, depending on the time of year. So when the fiddleheads are up, all the uncles are out, and we'll see them when they come back. So for me, these fiddleheads that we're using today are actually kind of special. My dad just went and picked these 2 weeks ago, and where he goes is an island that's in the Penobscot River, which is our traditional homeland that's named after us. Now you see here this caramelization I have going on my sunchoke. So this is what I'm looking for, okay? Just that little bit of brown, just to make it pretty. When you're cooking, golden brown is always your favorite color. So getting back to the fiddleheads, where these were picked is an island that my family has picked as far back as we can remember. My dad used to take me there when I was a little girl, and I always have fond memories of picking fiddleheads on our traditional islands in the middle of the Penobscot River. So now I'm at the point where I feel like my sunchokes have had a chance to kind of catch up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw just a handful of fiddleheads in there. I'm not getting too hung up on measurements today because I'm kind of hungry. You know, this is the filling for my crepe. So we're going to keep our heat kind of, you know, medium. We want to go ahead and saute these guys. So now that we're starting to add things to our pan, we want to start seasoning as we go because that adds depth of flavor, which is always what you're looking for whenever you are cooking. So I have granulated garlic here today and I have salt and pepper. Those are the only seasonings I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to give just a little sprinkle of salt and pepper because we are going to keep seasoning as we go. So I don't want it to be really like intense with the seasonings in the start. Think of it, I'm just seasoning what's in my pan, okay? Okay, so now we see here, you see how it's kind of dark green and light green? When it gets to the light green, that is how you know it is cooked. We do want to cook fiddleheads all the way through, which is one of the reasons this was one of the first things we added to our pan, okay? As those continue to cook, and you see I have this nice char that's happening here and this nice caramelization, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add just a few cranberries, like literally just a few, just a tiny little bit. I'm doing this just for the tartness of the cranberry. I'm doing it for the antioxidant health benefits, and it's a traditional food for the Penobscot, so always very important to eat as indigenously as we can. Now that I have my cranberries added to the pan, all I'm going to do is just wait for them to burst just a tiny, tiny little bit. I'm not looking for, you know, any miracles or anything like that. We can see this one right here, how it's starting to split. That's what I mean by burst. You know, kind of similar to if you ever make cranberry sauce from whole cranberries, that same kind of process when they start to come open. And again, this is going to be tart. We're using this for texture. Always moving everything in the pan. And when you see this here, this is not burnt, this is caramelized. This is perfect. That is what we want because that char just adds such a nice flavor. Anytime we're cooking, you know, I keep saying depth of flavor. It's so important to have your flavors layered on top of each other so you don't get just one, you know, one flavor, one star of the show, anything like that. So now here you see my cranberries are bursting. They're bursting really well. They have a little bit of caramelization on them. So for my filling today, I'm going to be using a mushroom medley along with my filling. So my mushrooms today, I have like oyster mushroom, king mushroom, chanterelles. Use whatever you have. If you have portobellos, great. If you don't like mushrooms, no problem. Use something you like. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to add a little bit. And same thing as before, we're going to go ahead and salt and pepper. Now I'm going to get a little bit more generous with it, with my salt and pepper. Because I'm cooking mushrooms and mushrooms really absorb oil, I'm going to put just a dab of oil in the middle of my pan. Like not even half a teaspoon probably. So all we're going to do is we're going to continue cooking this until the mushrooms are cooked, and then we're going to put it on the side and get our moose burger rolling. So now we can see, like you can tell with this cranberry that we have right here, these are really starting to soften up now. So that is exactly what we want. That's going to add such a nice little tart sweetness to our crepe. Always with the flipping, if you want to use a spoon or anything like that, do what is most comfortable for you. This is just what's most comfortable for me. So I'm happy with where this is at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that to the side. Now what we're going to do is get our moose burger rolling. Moose is, our relationship with moose has always been intrinsic to our survival. This is one of the main proteins and definitely, you know, prime game meat for us. You could definitely feed a lot of people with a moose. So we're going to put that in there. While that is getting rolling, anytime I put ground meat in, I don't, you know, mash it up right away. I'm just going to let it sear on that side. I want it to have a little bit of texture and caramelization as I'm going along. So I'm just gonna let that sit for a little bit. I'm just gonna let it get kind of brown and crispy on the bottom. And then once it's done, I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing on the other side before I start breaking it all up. Now, because this is game meat, you always wanna be really careful with your game meat. You wanna be careful when you're handling it. You know, we don't know what these animals have eaten. Not that there's going to be, you know, like toxins or anything like that, but, you know, when you're talking about game meat, the possibility of parasites is a real thing. So you always want to make sure that your game meat is cooked thoroughly. So we're just going to give this a minute and make sure it has all the time it needs to cook all the way through. So now we're just going to go ahead and flip it over. You see now, this is exactly what we want. That char right there, that is going to give us a really nice texture. It's not going to make it where if you get that soggy kind of ground meat flavor or texture, we're not going to have any of that. So this is definitely not a step to skip whenever you're making ground meat. So I'm just going to let that sear. You can tell my pan is really hot, so I am cooking at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and break it up a little bit. Again, we're going to do salt, pepper, and garlic at this point. I'm just putting enough salt and pepper until the ancestors tell me to stop, and then I'm good. We're going to taste this all together at the end. Again, we are just seasoning each layer of our crepes. So we want to continue cooking this until all the pink is out of the meat. We don't want to see any pink whatsoever with this game meat. And you definitely could swap out any type of protein for this. If you had bison, hamburger, if you prefer chicken or sausage, you could do anything. Like I said, any combination of vegetables, any combination of protein, make it your own. Okay, so now I'm at the point where I'm pretty happy that I don't have any pink. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my cooked vegetables back into my meat here. So what I'm going to do for like a really simple kind of like sauce on this, because if I did it just like this with a crepe, it'd be really dry and I don't think it would be as yummy as it could be. So what I'm going to be using out of our FDPIR commodity food box is I'm going to be using this cream of mushroom soup. This is an awesome way to make a cream sauce that's really quick, easy. You know, who doesn't have a can of cream of mushroom hanging around in their pantry? I'm only going to put probably like half a can in here. And I'm just going to let that all cook and come together before I taste it and decide what I need to do with my seasonings, if I need to make any adjustments. So the reason that I'm keeping my fiddleheads in here whole and I'm not like cutting them up into more bite-sized pieces, fiddleheads are baby ferns. So in here, in this is all wrapped up is this little fern. You see what I'm saying? It's just a baby. So if I cut these in half, this is going to come all apart and it's not going to hold into its fiddlehead shape that we all know, right? And so that's the main reason I'm not going to cut it up. And also, I'm a little worried that, people back at home on my res are going to be like, what is this girl doing? Because we only ever eat them whole. We're supposed to eat them like this. I have never in my life had a chopped fiddlehead. So now that everything is kind of emulsified, it's all in a happy marriage together, now this is the point where I want to try it, and I'm just going to see if I need to adjust my seasonings at all. This cream of mushroom soup, this has a lot of flavoring and seasoning in it, so I'd be surprised if I need to do much adjusting, honestly. So I'm just getting some meat, some mushroom. I just want to make sure everything is cooked all the way. That's all I'm looking for. So to me, I think that's great, honestly. I think it's got a nice balance of everything. So now I'm at the point I'm going to shut this off, and I'm going to be ready to plate. So I'm going to get one of the crepes that I made earlier. These are totally fine. These are still even a little bit warm. So I'm just going to pop it down on my plate. Again, I have this nice cream sauce here, so I don't need to add any more liquid, in my opinion, or cheese. I think this is perfect just the way it is. So I'm just going to add just a little tiny amount to my crepe. And then because this is my food and I'm cooking for me today, I'm going to fold it over. So you could also roll it. Another way to do it is if you wanted to roll them. So like an example of that We take our little filling here. I can just hear my grandmother in my head calling this a goulash. And so you could also roll it up. Either way is appropriate, whether if you fold or you roll, either way is good. These are my crepes here, and this looks like a pretty awesome stick-to-your-ribs breakfast, if you ask me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with me today.